Tonight, jailed for life for killing his girlfriend. 24-year-old Claire Levesque was murdered by her boyfriend in a remote village in Shetland.
Today we were able to get justice for Claire. She was such a bubbly, fun girl who brought life to every room that she walked into.
Also on tonight's programme, we meet the man who's continuing his sister's fight to find out why his family received the wrong ashes for their mum from a Glasgow funeral director's.
I'll carry it on till my dying day if I have to, because I think it's all wrong. And it's not just my mum, it's my sister, it's all these other innocent people.
The police investigation into A. Milne funeral directors is one of the force's biggest ongoing financial cases.
Coming up in tonight's sport, we hear from Hearts boss Derek McInnes, who says he understands speculation, but his full focus is on maintaining his side's challenge at the top of the table.
And we go inside the shoemaker's shop, which has been almost untouched for 7 decades. I'm Rebecca Curran. This is Reporting Scotland. A man has been jailed for life for murdering his girlfriend in a hot tub in a remote village in Shetland last year. Claire Levesque was 24 when her boyfriend, 41-year-old Aaron Pearson, stabbed her to death after a sustained period of abuse. Pearson denied the murder, claiming she'd stabbed herself. Claire was one of the 13 women killed in Scotland between 2023 and 2024, and one of the 5 who were killed by their partner or ex-partner that year. Stephen Godden reports.
At just 24, Claire Levesque died thousands of miles from home at the hands of the man who claimed to love her.
Hi, my name is Aaron Pearson.
Who are you?
I just killed my girlfriend in a hot tub in the garage at Ringville, the Annex, Sanus.
What's your
Shetland.
girlfriend's name?
Claire Levesque.
This 999 call was made after Aaron Pearson carried out his brutal attack, stabbing Claire Levesque repeatedly with such ferocity that the tip of the knife he used broke off. Claire's family flew to Scotland for the trial. After Pearson was convicted of her murder, Claire's cousin spoke outside court.
Claire was the kind of person that could make anybody laugh at any moment in time. If I was ever having a bad day, the first person I could go to was Claire, because she could make light out of anything. She was such a phenomenal person, and there truly is a shadow casted over our family now that she's gone.
It was Aaron Pearson's family ties that brought the couple to the remote village of Sanus, his mother having returned to Shetland after decades living in Canada.
The evidence showed Claire's short life there was punctuated with violence. Pearson hit her, telling her you deserved every bit of it and more. In the 999 call, he's heard telling the operator, "I've stabbed her about 40 times. And in one of the most distressing moments of the trial, jurors were shown a video that Pearson filmed himself in the hot tub shouting abuse at police, while Claire's lifeless body can be seen floating beside him in the water.
Her being so far away in the Shetland Islands breaks my heart even more. Don't even want to think about how scared she might have been in that moment.
After Pearson was arrested, investigators began piecing together what happened, recovering the wreckage of a Porsche he'd driven into the sea after attacking Claire. They also discovered text messages he sent to her father
from the man who killed my daughter,
claiming that he was taking care of her. In his evidence, Aaron Pearson told the court that he watched Claire Levesque stab herself 4 or 5 times, claiming he was so shocked that he couldn't remember what happened next. In the closing speech, his lawyer put it to the jury that if Pearson was lying, they might have expected him to come up with a better story.
Somebody who's really shown cowardice throughout this entire process, taking a defensive position in court that he simply could not remember what had happened, rather than taking responsibility for his own violent acts.
Sentencing Pearson to at least 25 years in prison for murder, the judge told him he was guilty of exceptional depravity.
This was a sustained episode of feral butchery. You have sought to blame Miss Levesque for your own assaults against her, and you have, in a grave insult to her memory and to her bereaved family, put forward a defence that Miss Levesque inflicted these catastrophic injuries upon herself, a defence that the jury have unanimously rejected.
As Claire Levesque's killer begins his life sentence, her family say they want to remember Claire as she was, not how she died. Stephen Gordon reporting Scotland at the High Court in Edinburgh.
A man is vowing to carry on his sister's fight for justice after their family received the wrong ashes following their mother's cremation at a Glasgow funeral home. Before her death, Anne Gibson raised serious concerns about A Milne funeral directors, prompting a major financial investigation by Police Scotland, one of the largest of its kind, still ongoing. Our reporter Hope Webb met with Anne's brother Brian as he planned to scatter her ashes at a family plot.
We're more than brother and sister. We're like joined at the hip. She was more like a mum in the house than a sister, but she had a heart and all.
Brian has travelled over 200 miles from his home in Manchester to finally lay his sister Anne to rest at a family plot in St Kentigern's Cemetery. She died from cancer in August, the latest loss in a series of family tragedies. His mum Patricia died in April 2023, and at the time the family used A Milne funeral directors. But 5 months after her passing, they learned the ashes they'd been given weren't hers.
There was no paperwork, nothing, so we got a bit suspicious because we were getting ready for the time to bring her home to the family grave. And then we phoned the Clydebank crematorium and we were told our ashes were never collected. So I've been kissing this total stranger good night every night, and obviously it's affected my mental health.
The family also discovered that the funeral plan Patricia had purchased ahead of her death wasn't valid. Heartbreakingly, it was the same for his sister Anne, who had also spent more than £3,000 with the same firm for her own plan. When she died, she was still waiting for answers on where her money had gone.
It affected Anne's health with the cancer because she was worried. So even in her deathbed in the hospital, she said to me, "I'm sorry you've been left with this."
Brian was forced to pay for his sister's funeral again when the one from A Milne was found to be invalid. Last month, Police Scotland launched a fresh appeal, confirming they've spoken to more than 200 people as part of their ongoing investigation.
This type and size of inquiry is unprecedented for Police Scotland, not just due to the size and nature, but due to the sensitive nature of the inquiry. It represents one of our largest ongoing financial investigations.
Last summer, 3 people were arrested in connection with this case and released pending further inquiries. Police say more people have come forward, but they believe a larger number may be affected. For Brian, his search for answers continues.
I'll carry on till my dying day if I have to, because I think it's all wrong. And it's not just my mum, it's my sister, it's all these other innocent people. We can't just let it go.
Hope Webb talking to Brian Allison there. Now, the number of sexual offences on trains in Scotland is on the rise, according to figures obtained by BBC News. 98 assaults were reported last year, compared to 58 10 years ago. 24 of those victims were under 18 years of age. One woman who was assaulted on a train 20 years ago now runs self-defence classes. She recently had to help a young woman being hassled by a man between Glasgow and Inverness. Graham Ogston went to speak to her.
Juana Stan had only just moved to Scotland 20 years ago when she experienced a distressing incident on a train.
Extremely traumatic and terrifying to find yourself just new in a new environment and then have to experience something like that. If you push me back,
She now teaches free self-defence classes for women as part of the Womanity project in Glasgow. 2 years ago, she was forced to intervene in an incident by a man against another woman on a train.
I continued to stay there to make sure that he can see me and that I'm not going to leave her alone. And then he redirected his aggression and his attention to me and started threatening me.
Data from British Transport Police shows the number of reports of sexual offences on trains and in stations across Britain rose by a third in the last decade.
I would like to perhaps add to those statistics the unreported incidents that some hundreds of women tell us about. And we know that they feel intimidated.
A BBC investigation has revealed there were 98 reports of sexual offences on trains and at railway stations in Scotland last year. 26 of these cases were closed without a suspect being identified, and a quarter of the total involved victims under the age of 18. The Scottish Government said a working group has been set up to review police enforcement powers in relation to tackling antisocial behaviour on Scotland's railway. British Transport Police said, while any rise in crime figures is a concern, it's important to contextualise that this is down in part to an increase in intelligence-led operations involving plainclothes officers who are specially trained to identify offenders, as well as an increase in reporting via our text 61016 number. For Wana, her message is that a lot more needs to be done.
Authorities have a duty to consider the safety of passengers, be it women or young children or elderly or just normal passengers. And they should really make sure that people feel protected using a public transport.
Graham Ogston, reporting Scotland.
Some of the day's other stories now. A fresh application to drill the oilfield Rosebank has been submitted by Norwegian energy company Equinor. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court ruled that consent for the oilfield was granted unlawfully because it did not include a full environmental assessment. A new report estimates it would release 250 million tonnes of CO2, but Equinor argues it is not a significant figure. A man accused of murdering 2 Scottish gangland figures on the Costa del Sol faces extradition to Spain within days. Spanish police allege that Michael Riley gunned down Eddie Lyons Jr. and Ross Monaghan in Fuengirola in May. The 44-year-old initially opposed his extradition, but has now given his consent to be sent to Spain. And Scots are being urged to remain alert to scams claiming to be linked to winter heating payments. Social Justice Secretary Shirley Ann Somerville says the body responsible for making the payments, Social Security Scotland, will never ask for personal or financial details in a text or an email. Now, 10 years ago, the now leader of the Scottish Conservatives, Russell Findlay, had acid thrown in his face. At the time, he was an investigative reporter looking into organised crime. Well, the man who was convicted of the attack, William Burns, was considered for release today. Mr. Findlay has hit out at the parole system, saying there is little transparency for victims like him. He was told this afternoon that Burns would remain in prison for now. The Scottish Government is currently carrying out a consultation into possible reforms. Our political correspondent, Lindsay Bewes, reports.
This was the result of an assault on Russell Findlay almost a decade ago. He was working as an investigative journalist when he was attacked on the doorstep of his home.
The individual was wearing a postman's uniform. He got me to sign a Royal Mail delivery card, and as I did so, I felt this splash of liquid on the right-hand side of my face. I later discovered that this was sulfuric acid. I later discovered that the postman was in fact a high-level, dangerous organised criminal with a horrific track record for violence.
Mr. Findlay knows the attack could have been much worse.
My daughter could have come downstairs to find me lying dead on the doorstep.
His assailant, William Burns, was jailed for 15 years. He was denied parole at a hearing today. Mr. Findlay says he was given very limited information about the process.
I had to push to get the exact date. When it comes to parole, victims are kept in the dark. It's about respecting crime victims, sharing information with them proactively. In fact, if you treat them, if you give them the same rights as the criminals have, then you'd be winning.
Other victims of crime are also seeking changes. Rape survivors Ellie Wilson and Hannah McLaughlin say all victims should have the right to attend parole hearings, while Linda MacDonald, who was brutally attacked in 2017, wants to see greater transparency about the reasons for parole decisions. The Justice Secretary says the government is currently consulting on parole reforms.
I'm very committed to improving transparency and better communication when it comes to the parole system, because that is imperative for public trust, and it is important that we continue on this journey of improving people's understanding about what parole is for.
Those who want to see reform have until next month to submit their views to ministers. Lindsay Bewes, reporting Scotland.
Well, Sarah's here now, and Sarah, you've been speaking to Russell Finlay today, haven't you?
Yes, Rebecca, I sat down with Mr Finlay earlier on, and as you mentioned, we now know that his attacker will remain in prison for the time being, but he told me that this is around the 5th or 6th time that he's gone through this process, so we speak a bit more about that experience. But there's also some fun on the programme tonight. You know Elaine C. Smith, yes? Well, you'll need to join me to find out what she has in common with bowls and the Commonwealth Games. I have all the secrets.
Oh, it definitely sounds worth a watch. Thank you very much, Sarah. Tonight's main news again. A man has been found guilty of murdering his girlfriend in a hot tub in Shetland. Aaron Pearson stabbed 24-year-old Claire Levesque to death in Sandnes in February last year.
Still to come in tonight's sport, we speak to Olympic cyclist Jack Carlin, who said he lost his spark for the sport as he announces his retirement.
Now, frailty is something we associate with older people, but 1 in 8 people under 65 fall into that medical category. It's defined as a state where someone is more vulnerable to illness or injury. Researchers at the University of Dundee have found assessing younger patients could lead to better health outcomes after reviewing more than 1 million patient records. Ian Hamilton reports.
You okay? There we go.
This is Claire Dempsey with her father Chris.
Let's turn you around a bit.
Claire is 48 years old and was born with cerebral palsy.
Is that better?
The Frailty Index is a test used by GPs to spot early signs that someone's health or strength is slipping. It's mainly used for people over the age of 65, but including younger people like Claire could help to catch problems before they become serious.
I mean, a Frailty Index should be a Frailty Index covering everyone, from birth. And I think the problem is sometimes maybe by the time we start to address some of these problems in older age, we've missed the opportunity to correct them.
Can you put your hands up for me?
Today, Claire is being supported by occupational therapist Tina Poole to help improve her posture.
Oh, that's perfect.
Tackling poor posture is an example of what these frailty assessments can pick up on.
That's better, isn't it?
With a poor posture, you end up with lots of health conditions, loss of quality of life, pain, and it can even lead to premature death. Poor posture gives you a lot of frailty because you end up with all your body systems not working.
So how is frailty defined? It's a long list, but it includes reduced muscle strength, exhaustion or fatigue, or increased likelihood of falls.
All right, you ready?
And that's why early intervention for people like Claire is key. Dr. Daniel Morales led the study, which reviewed 1 million health records. It found that 1 in 8 people under the age of 65 are living with frailties.
Do you think this index applied to young people could have a positive outcome for patients?
Yes, I think it could. If appropriately or effective interventions and services can be developed to address frailty and perhaps the underlying causes, then it may even have additional benefits on health outcomes and NHS service provision.
Do you want something more to drink?
For people like Claire, it's about being seen sooner before small problems become bigger ones and getting the right support to stay well for longer. Ian Hamilton, reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
OK, it's time for All Tonight's Sport now with Sheila. Hi, Sheila.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hello there. Derek McInnes says he understands why there's been speculation linking him to the Rangers job, given Hearts' strong start to the season. But he insists his full focus is on maintaining the Tynecastle side's position at the top of the table. McInnes, who picked up back-to-back Manager of the Month awards this week, guided Hearts to an Edinburgh Derby victory before the international break to stay ahead of Celtic in the Premiership.
I think any time a manager's team is doing well, when the team is doing well, there's always sometimes people talking you up and all the rest of it, and maybe some speculation from that. The flip side of that as a manager, as you well know, is you're normally batting off questions about your job when things aren't going well. So for us, we're just concentrating and trying to
have maintained my strong start, and it is just a start, but we're really enjoying what we're doing, really enjoying what we're getting from the players, and we have got enough to bring it on with at our own side. We're only talking about Hearts.
Well, as Rangers continue discussions over their new manager, someone who knows the leading candidate well believes he's ready to take on the challenge at Ibrox because of his experience at teams who are expected to win. Former Australia teammate of Kevin Muscat, Craig Foster, has followed the ex-Ibrox defender's career while working as a television pundit down under and says the 52-year-old would get the best out of the squad and challenge for titles.
I think he knows the club, of course, extremely well. I think it's fantastic that he was a former player there. He's worked always in top clubs as well. So Yokohama are expected to win. Melbourne Victory are expected to win, as they did when he was the captain and as the coach. And Shanghai Port are expected to win. All you see from him is the ability to adapt to the situation that he's in, to get the best out of the playing group, to develop the tactical playing style of the team, and to win titles, which is what he's done throughout his entire career. It doesn't matter whether it's as player or as manager.
Scotland women's head coach Melissa Andreatta believes her squad has what's required to get back to a major tournament after missing out on the last 3 finals. In an interview with BBC Scotland's Amy Canavan, the Australian says she's fully aware of what it takes to not only qualify but compete.
Turning over every stone and looking at every detail that helps us get that edge and something different that will get us over that barrier or through that wall, and it's going to be a mission, and it's going to be tough, and it won't just be this perfect, linear journey.
You can see more of that interview on the BBC iPlayer. Now, 4-time Olympic medalist Jack Carlin says he's lost the spark from cycling after announcing his retirement. The 28-year-old claimed team sprint silver and sprint bronze in Paris last August and the same in Tokyo 3 years earlier, among a haul of 19 international medals. But he says it's the right time to give it up.
It's been a decision over the last, even going into Paris, motivation was dwindling, and obviously I had the injuries leading into Paris, and the 3 years going into Paris were quite up and down with injuries, and it took a lot to get to that start line and took myself away from the kind of high performance scene after Paris, and yeah, tried to search for that motivation to really ignite that spark again to go for another 4 years, and I never came back, and I thought, well, unless I can give 100%, which I can win or lose by thousandths of a second in every race that I race. Unless you give 100%, you're doing yourself a disservice.
And Glasgow City are playing HB Kuya in the Women's Europa Cup tonight. It's live on the iPlayer from 7:35 if you want your football fix.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, as always, Sheila. Now, this might just look like any old shed to the casual passerby, but it is in fact a Category A listed building. Inside is a shoemaker's shop that has been largely untouched for 7 decades. It shut at the end of the 1940s, with tools and stock just left there. Well, now grants of more than £100,000 mean it can be repaired and opened back up to the public, as Louise Hosey reports.
On first sight, a seemingly dilapidated and unremarkable shed deep in the Aberdeenshire countryside. But inside is a charming glimpse of a cobbler's life at the turn of the 20th century. Believed to be the only one of its kind left in Scotland, this suitor's or shoemaker's shop was only rediscovered in 1999, having been left untouched since the 1940s. Now its doors could open once again after funding was awarded to the community.
We've been so lucky. We've received the funding from Historic Environment Scotland, but we've also had amazing funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund and other funders. We think it's the last remaining suitor's shop in situ with everything in it in Scotland, possibly the UK. It's the physical shop, the belongings, but it's also the intangible, the stories, the memories that we're aiming to conserve.
The Shoemaker's was run by James Merchant, who lived in the house next door with his family.
The shop still contains original tools, stock and other items. There are many tales of James Merchant sitting at this stool next to the fire with tacks in his mouth as he repaired shoes and boots.
After his death, James's son ran the business until the late 1940s when it finally closed. It's hoped the funding will allow the old shop to be open to visitors, so this magical moment in time can be enjoyed and experienced once again. Louise Hosey, reporting Scotland, Aberdeenshire.
That's an incredible story, isn't it? It definitely looks like it will be worth a visit, I think. And now we've got the weather with Judith. Hi, Judith.
That was like a fairy tale, wasn't it? Yes, like the weather today.
Well, do you know what? I left a very sunny northeast today.
Yeah.
Not quite the same for everyone, was it?
But actually, it brightened up beautifully across many parts of Scotland. It took us by surprise, actually. Mother Nature pulled the blanket of cloud from us and allowed the sunshine to come through for many of us. Now, you can see from the earlier satellite picture, lots of sunshine across northern Scotland, quite widely 16 Celsius, where we kept that thicker cloud, low cloud 9 Celsius for Prestwick. And the high pressure responsible for all the dry weather still staying with us right through until the end of the week. A weak weather front bringing a bit of rain for the north tonight. But as we head through towards Saturday, a brisk wind will start to break up the cloud, and here is rain coming our way on Sunday, eventually making its way across the country. But tonight it's largely dry. Clear spells for eastern Scotland, certainly initially. A bit more cloud in the west, low cloud, mist and fog developing as well, and once again through the overnight period. Here's our weak front into the very far north and the Northern Isles, bringing us a few spits and spots of rain. And it could be cold enough for a touch of frost in sheltered parts of the east, the Dee and Donside, and also across the East Highlands as well, for most of us around 6 Celsius. I think some early sunshine in the east, still mist and fog and low cloud as we've been seeing quite a lot recently. But come the afternoon, we still have our weather front lying across the north of the country, but it should be clear of Shetland. It sweeps away the cloud and we'll see sunny spells here. Quite a brisk northwesterly wind here as well. That thicker clouds and spots of rain for Orkney, Caithness, just clipping into northern Aberdeenshire. Now, it's difficult to know where the breaks will be with that cloud stuck under the high, but I think eastern Scotland once again seeing some sunny spells. And I think something a wee bit brighter at times for western areas. I'm hopeful anyway. But temperatures 12, 13 Celsius. And across the Western Isles, I think it'll be fairly cloudy. Not much wind to move that cloud through. Into tomorrow evening, some clear spells in the east. We'll lose that frontal cloud across the north, but we'll see some mist and fog reforming once again. A very similar setup again on Friday. It looks like the best of sunshine will develop across the northwest on Friday, and temperatures pretty much what we've been seeing of late. And to the weekend, well, I think something brighter for Saturday with the wind breaking up the cloud and rain eventually moving in as we head through Sunday. So changes afoot.
Thank you very much, Judith. We like a bright start to a Saturday, so that's good news.
Get out with the kids.
Absolutely. Thanks, Judith. Well, Sarah McMullen will be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight. But until then, from everyone on the team here, do enjoy the rest of your evening.